The morning sunlight spilled through the half-open curtains, stretching across the living room floor in warm, golden stripes. Mia sat cross-legged, her hands resting lightly on her belly, feeling the gentle curve beneath her fingers. Outside, the wind rustled the trees, carrying the soft hum of early birds. Everything felt quiet, ordinary, peaceful. At her feet, Max shifted. The German Shepherd had always been calm in the mornings, but today his eyes seemed sharper, focused in a way Mia hadn't seen before. He nudged her hand with his wet nose, tilted his head slightly, then let out a low, almost imperceptible growl. Mia smiled. "Max, what is it, boy?" she whispered, running her fingers through his fur. The growl didn't feel threatening. It felt deliberate. Thoughtful, even. She glanced down at her belly and laughed softly. "You've been doing that every day, huh?" Max's eyes never left her midsection. He stepped closer, rested his head against her side, and let out a soft whine. The warmth of his body, the gentle pressure of his head, it sent a shiver through her that wasn't cold or scary. It was curiosity. Wonder. Something she couldn't quite name. For days, he had been acting this way. Growling, nudging, circling her. Friends had joked, dogs have instincts, they said. But this was different. Max wasn't warning her of danger, he was communicating something else. Something gentle, something important. Mia leaned back against the couch, letting her hand rest over Max's head. She could hear the faint creak of the wooden floor as he shifted slightly, then the soft brush of his paw as he adjusted. The room smelled faintly of coffee and warm vanilla from the candle she had lit the night before. Light streamed through the curtains, catching the dust motes and lazy swirls, making the scene feel like a painting, or a memory in the making. She reached down, stroking Max's ears. "You always know when something's different, don't you?" Her voice was soft, tentative. Max's tail thumped once, twice, a slow rhythm. He stayed still, watching, listening, sensing. And Mia felt her heart swell in that quiet space. There was a connection here, deep and unspoken. Then, without warning, Max nudged her belly again, firmer this time. Mia looked down, startled by the sudden pressure, and laughed nervously. Okay. I get it, Max. You're serious." She pressed her hand to her stomach and felt a tiny kick, a flutter that made her gasp softly. The timing, the moment, it felt too precise to be coincidence. Max circled her slowly, sniffing, pausing, then sitting back on his haunches. His eyes were fixed. Purposeful. Focused. The kind of attention that said, "I see something you don't, but I'm here for you." Mia reached for him again, hugging him close. "You're amazing, you know that?" Her voice broke slightly, a mix of awe and tenderness. Max nuzzled her shoulder in reply, resting his head there, breathing slow and steady. For a while, they stayed like that. No words, no rush. Just sunlight, quiet, the warmth of shared trust. And then Max lifted his nose, sniffed the air, and let out a soft, lingering whine. His gaze was unwavering. Mia's eyes followed his. Something inside her shifted. She felt a subtle, gentle tension rise, like the calm before a sunrise. Nothing scary. Nothing urgent. Just the feeling that something important was about to happen. She rested her hand over her heart, watching Max. "What are you trying to tell me, boy?" she whispered. Her voice trembled with wonder. He tilted his head again, almost knowingly. And in that moment, Mia realized she wasn't the only one sensing the change. Max was guiding her, softly, quietly, gently. The room seemed to hold its breath with them. The sunlight, the soft hum of the morning, the warm scent of home, it all became a quiet stage for something unseen. Max's growls, nudges, and gentle nudges were part of a story she had yet to understand. And as he rested his head against her belly, eyes soft but alert, Mia knew this small, subtle mystery was just the beginning. What the dog sensed would change everything. The afternoon light was softer now, spilling through the kitchen window in gentle, amber streams. Mia was perched on a stool, sipping a cup of herbal tea, the warmth seeping into her hands. Max lay nearby, his head resting on the rug, ears twitching at every small sound, the distant hum of a car, the whisper of the wind, the faint creak of the house settling. For the past few days, Max's behavior had grown more deliberate. It wasn't just the growls anymore. Now, he nudged, circled, and even pawed at spots Mia hadn't paid attention to, especially near the furniture where she spent most of her time. And every time he did, Mia felt a strange mixture of curiosity and calm reassurance. "Max, you're really something, aren't you?" she murmured. Her voice was soft, almost reverent. She watched as he rose slowly, tail sweeping the floor in a measured rhythm, and moved toward her. His gaze was intense, focused, not threatening, but purposeful. He stopped near the sofa, sniffed the air, then gently pawed at a corner of the rug. Mia leaned closer, squinting. Nothing seemed out of place. Yet Max's insistence was persistent. He nudged again, circling her, his eyes never leaving her face. It struck her then, he wasn't just reacting. He was anticipating. Sensing. Guiding. Mia crouched down, placing her hands on his shoulders. "You're trying to tell me something, aren't you?" she whispered. Max tilted his head, letting out a low, soft whine, and nudged her hand. His eyes seemed almost human, filled with an unspoken understanding. She laughed quietly, a mix of amazement and affection. "I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to figure it out with you." The words hung in the air, light and warm, blending with the quiet afternoon. Max leaned into her, resting his muzzle on her knee. The next few minutes passed slowly. Max moved from spot to spot, sniffing deliberately, nudging occasionally, circling, then returning to her side. It was like watching someone quietly working on a puzzle, piece by piece, with infinite patience. Mia felt her heart swell. He wasn't just a pet, he was a partner, an intuitive guide, a silent companion in the unknown. As she watched him, she realized something else, the pattern. Max's attention wasn't random. He focused on the areas closest to her belly, the spots where she often rested her hands or shifted her weight. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was there. He wasn't growling at her. He was sensing life, presence, change. Mia placed a hand gently on his head, her thumb brushing his fur. "You're amazing, Max, you really are." She let the words linger, soft and deliberate, like a promise. Max's tail thumped once, twice, a quiet, steady rhythm of agreement. The room felt still, sacred almost, as if the house itself was leaning in to watch their silent conversation. Sunlight danced across Max's coat, highlighting the warm, golden tones in his fur. Dust motes drifted lazily, catching the light, painting the air with gentle movement. Then, without warning, Max nudged her hand toward her side again. A soft whine followed, like a question. Mia pressed her palm to her belly and felt it, an unmistakable flutter. She gasped softly, her eyes widening. The timing, it was uncanny. Max had guided her, nudged her, toward this tiny, miraculous moment. Her heart raced, not with fear, but with awe. "You knew, didn't you?" she whispered, voice trembling with quiet wonder. Max leaned against her, warm and steady, as if confirming the truth she had just felt. For the rest of the afternoon, they stayed close. Max's movements were gentle, careful, precise. Every nudge, every paw, every soft whine was a thread weaving a story Mia hadn't fully understood yet. But she felt it. Connection. Trust. Love. A bond that went beyond words. When evening fell, the sunlight fading into a soft, pink glow, Max curled up beside her once more. Mia rested her head on the couch arm, watching him. "I don't know how you do it, Max, but I feel safer with you here." Max lifted his head briefly, eyes meeting hers. It was a look full of knowing, quiet intelligence, and unwavering loyalty. Then he rested his head again, tail sweeping softly, breathing calm and even. Mia exhaled slowly, feeling a wave of gratitude wash over her. She realized something fundamental. Max's intuition wasn't about fear. It wasn't about danger. It was about guidance, presence, and connection. And in that quiet, amber-lit kitchen, she felt it fully, an unspoken promise that he would be there, always. As she drifted into the stillness of evening, one thought lingered, soft and persistent: whatever this journey was, Max already knew the way. And she would follow him, every step, heart open and trusting. His behavior had a meaning no one expected. The next morning arrived with the soft glow of dawn spilling across the living room floor. The air smelled faintly of coffee and fresh linen, a gentle promise of a new day. Mia sat on the couch, wrapped in a warm blanket, her hands resting lightly on her belly. She glanced at Max, who was lying nearby, tail occasionally flicking, ears alert even in his rest. For days now, she had watched him with growing fascination. His behavior wasn't just unusual, it was deliberate. He growled softly at her belly in the mornings, nudged her hands with his nose, and circled her in ways that seemed purposeful. Every movement was precise, almost methodical, as if he were trying to communicate something beyond ordinary comprehension. Mia leaned forward, eyes tracing his every action. "Max, what are you trying to show me?" she whispered, her voice calm, yet filled with wonder. Max lifted his head, eyes meeting hers with unwavering focus. He wagged his tail slowly, then nudged her hand toward her side. A soft flutter beneath her palm made her gasp. The baby, responding to Max's gentle guidance? She sat back, her heart thumping in quiet awe. Could it be coincidence? Or had Max truly sensed the subtle signs she hadn't noticed before? Over the next hour, Mia observed him closely. He moved around the room in patterns she began to recognize. He paused near spots where she often rested her hands, sniffed the air near her belly, and let out soft whines when she shifted position. There was intention in every gesture. It wasn't random. It wasn't playful. It was intuitive. Mia's curiosity grew. She began taking mental notes of his behavior, watching for patterns. Every time she settled in a chair, he nudged her toward a certain spot. Every time she leaned over the counter, he positioned himself near her side, alert yet calm. The precision was astounding. "You're remarkable, you know that?" Mia murmured softly, reaching down to stroke his ears. Max leaned into her hand, a low, gentle whine escaping him as if acknowledging her words. She smiled, eyes glistening with a mix of wonder and affection. I think you understand more than I ever imagined." The day unfolded slowly, filled with quiet, shared moments. Max followed her from room to room, always attentive, always observing. Mia realized she was beginning to trust him in ways she hadn't before, not just as a pet, but as a guide, a gentle presence who could sense things she couldn't. Later, as the afternoon sunlight shifted through the window, painting long, warm shadows across the floor, Mia sat on the rug with Max beside her. She rested her hand on her belly, feeling the subtle movements, while he leaned against her, attentive and calm. "You really notice everything, don't you?" she whispered. His soft whine was the only reply, yet it felt like affirmation. Every small gesture, every deliberate glance, every subtle nudge was a piece of a puzzle she was only beginning to understand. As evening approached, the golden light fading into a soft, dusky pink, Mia found herself reflecting on the days past. Max's actions weren't random. They weren't quirks or coincidences. He was sensing life, change, presence, a rhythm she could feel but not fully explain. She leaned back, letting out a slow sigh, warmth pooling in her chest. "I've never known a dog like you," she whispered. "You're different." Max rested his head on her lap, tail sweeping softly. He seemed content, patient, as if waiting for her to catch up to his understanding. For the first time, Mia realized she was no longer simply observing him. She was part of a shared rhythm, a quiet partnership built on trust and intuition. Every small movement he made, every gentle nudge, had meaning. And the more she watched, the more she wanted to understand. As night settled in, and the room darkened except for the soft glow of the lamp, Mia felt a quiet awe. Max curled up beside her, ears twitching in tune with the sounds of the house. She whispered again, "You've opened my eyes, Max. I think I'm ready to see what else you know." A gentle breeze stirred the curtains, carrying the faint scent of evening jasmine. The house felt alive with quiet mystery. Max shifted slightly, nose nudging her hand again. Mia smiled, a mix of wonder and anticipation in her eyes. She could feel it, something remarkable was unfolding. The truth behind his actions was more beautiful than anyone imagined. The morning light filtered gently through the curtains, painting the bedroom in soft, warm hues. Mia sat cross-legged on the floor, the familiar hum of the city outside barely audible through the closed windows. Max lay at her side, head resting on her ankle, eyes half closed but alert to every small sound. The quiet intimacy of the moment felt almost sacred. Over the past days, their bond had deepened in ways Mia hadn't expected. Max wasn't just attentive, he was responsive. Each nudge, each soft whine, each gentle pawing was a thread weaving them closer together. He seemed to understand her moods, her subtle gestures, even the tiny flutters in her belly. Mia reached down to stroke his ears, feeling the warm texture of his fur under her fingers. "You know me, don't you, Max?" she whispered softly. Max lifted his head, eyes meeting hers with unwavering focus. His tail thumped slowly, a heartbeat in sync with hers, steady and reassuring. She smiled, feeling a gentle warmth spread through her chest. There was comfort in the predictability of his care, but also awe. The way he seemed to anticipate her needs, it was like he was part of the family in a way beyond companionship. He was a guide, a protector, a quiet presence she had come to rely on. As the day unfolded, Mia found herself noticing the little things Max did that had previously gone unseen. He would follow her movements, positioning himself where he could see and sense her best. If she shifted her weight or moved across the room, he adjusted, always attentive, always patient. There was no fear in his gaze, only focus and understanding. At lunchtime, Mia rested on the couch, Max curled at her side. She absent-mindedly traced the outline of his ears, watching the sunlight catch in his coat, highlighting shades of amber and gold. "You make everything feel safer," she murmured. "Not in a loud, scary way, just right." Max nudged her hand gently with his nose, a soft whine accompanying the movement. It was as if he were agreeing, silently acknowledging the bond that had formed between them. Mia leaned back, letting the moment breathe, feeling the weight of gratitude settle in her chest. The afternoon brought a quiet rhythm to the house. Max would occasionally paw at her hand or rest his head on her lap, eyes locking with hers in silent communication. Mia began talking to him more, sharing thoughts she hadn't spoken aloud before. "Do you feel it too, Max? The way things are changing?" Max responded with the slightest tilt of his head, attentive and patient, as if understanding every unspoken word. By evening, the golden light of sunset spilled into the living room, soft and forgiving. Mia and Max settled into their familiar pattern, her on the couch, him beside her, tails brushing against the rug. She watched him, noting the small rise and fall of his chest with each breath, the gentle flick of his ears at distant sounds. Every detail reinforced the depth of their connection. Mia's hand rested on her belly, feeling the subtle movements of the baby within. Max shifted closer, resting his head against her side, nudging her gently with his nose. She laughed softly, a quiet, warm sound. "You're incredible, you know that? Always here, always knowing." He lifted his head briefly, eyes meeting hers in a gaze that seemed almost human, full of understanding and quiet intelligence. Then he rested again, content and steady, his body a grounding presence in the soft glow of the evening. As night fell, the room grew quiet except for the subtle hum of the city and Max's rhythmic breathing. Mia felt a profound sense of calm. She realized that their bond wasn't just about instinct or intuition, it was about trust, love, and the quiet assurance that comes from knowing someone or some being is watching over you. She leaned back, letting herself sink into the stillness. "Thank you, Max," she whispered, voice soft with emotion. "For being here, for understanding, for caring." Max nudged her hand once more, his eyes half closed but full of quiet affirmation. The warmth of the moment lingered as she watched the fading light cast gentle shadows across the room. Every small action, every subtle nudge, every gentle gaze had become part of a larger story, one of connection, care, and trust that ran deeper than words could express. As she drifted toward the window, watching the last streaks of pink fade into twilight, Mia knew one thing with absolute certainty: Max was not just a dog in her life. He was a companion in the truest sense, a silent, intuitive presence guiding her, protecting her, and now, becoming an inseparable part of her world. And as she closed her eyes, feeling the quiet rhythm of Max's breathing beside her, a soft sense of anticipation settled over her. Something remarkable was unfolding, and together, they would face it, gently, quietly, and with hearts open to whatever came next. The truth behind his actions was more beautiful than anyone imagined. The morning air carried the scent of dew and fresh earth, filtering softly through the open window. Mia sat on the living room rug, her hands gently resting on her belly. Max lay beside her, chest rising and falling with a calm, steady rhythm. He had been more attentive than usual this morning, nudging her hand, circling closer, then pausing as if listening for something beyond sound. Mia noticed the subtle differences in his behavior immediately. The nudges were firmer, more deliberate. The soft growls had evolved into an almost insistent whine, paired with those steady, intelligent eyes she had come to trust. "Max, what are you trying to tell me?" she whispered, voice barely above the morning stillness. He nudged her again, pressing his nose against her belly. She laughed softly, startled by the timing. "You've got my attention, Max." She paused, placing a hand over her stomach. A small flutter greeted her palm, and her eyes widened. It wasn't just instinct. Max was guiding her, pointing out subtle signs she had never noticed. He had been anticipating these little movements, these delicate hints of life. And in his way, he was communicating them to her, slowly, gently, with care. Over the next hour, Mia observed him closely. Max moved from spot to spot, circling her, sniffing near her side, then pausing as if checking that she was watching. His behavior was purposeful, almost ritualistic. Every gesture seemed to build on the last, a silent story unfolding before her. Mia felt a swell of awe. "You've been guiding me, haven't you?" All this time, her voice caught slightly as she stroked his ears. Max leaned into her hand, tail sweeping gently across the rug. He whined softly, a quiet affirmation. The afternoon sun painted golden streaks across the room, highlighting the warm tones in Max's fur. He moved deliberately now, pausing occasionally to check her expression. Mia followed his motions, noticing that he was leading her attention to small details, the corners of the room, the spaces she often overlooked. Every movement had meaning, every pause intentional. For the first time, she began to understand. Max's intuition was more than a dog's instinct, it was a gentle revelation. He wasn't just reacting, he was communicating a truth she could finally feel. A truth that went beyond words, beyond ordinary understanding. She smiled, softly, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. I think I understand now," she murmured. Max nudged her hand once more, then settled beside her, eyes fixed on her with unwavering focus. Later, as the golden light faded into soft pinks and purples, Mia continued to notice Max's quiet attentions. When she shifted slightly, he would adjust, resting his head in a new position, nudging gently to draw her awareness to subtle movements in her belly. It was a rhythm, a dance, a quiet communication that required no words, just presence, trust, and observation. She laughed quietly to herself, a mixture of wonder and amazement. "All this time, you've been showing me things I couldn't see on my own." Max responded with a soft whine, tail thumping against the floor in agreement. As night fell and the room darkened, the house alive only with the soft hum of evening, Mia reflected on the day. Max had guided her gently, revealing small truths, nudging her toward awareness with care and patience. Every subtle action had been a piece of a puzzle she was only now beginning to understand. She leaned against the couch, Max resting his head on her lap, tail sweeping slowly. "You've been teaching me, haven't you?" she whispered. He tilted his head slightly, a soft whine escaping him, almost like a quiet yes. The soft glow of the lamp cast shadows across the room, highlighting the bond forming between them. Mia realized that Max's gentle guidance wasn't about control or warning, it was about presence, understanding, and connection. And as she rested her hand over her belly, feeling the subtle flutters, she knew that this quiet, attentive companionship had been leading to this very moment of realization. A breeze stirred the curtains, carrying the faint scent of night flowers. Max lifted his nose, sniffed the air, then nudged her gently once more. Mia smiled, her heart full, tears threatening to spill. I understand you now, Max. I really do. The warmth of the evening settled over them, and the quiet intimacy of the room felt like a promise that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, with gentle understanding, trust, and love. The heart of the mystery was slowly revealing itself, and it was more beautiful than Mia could have imagined. The house was quiet in the early morning, bathed in soft, honey-colored light. Outside, the trees swayed gently in the breeze, birds chirping their delicate songs. Mia sat on the couch, blanket wrapped around her, tea in hand, feeling the subtle flutter of life within her. Max lay at her feet, chest rising and falling with calm precision, ears perked to every sound. For weeks now, Max had been guiding her, nudging, circling, growling softly, always attentive to her every movement. But today felt different. There was a purpose in his gaze, an urgency in the gentleness of his actions that made Mia pause. She watched as he rose and moved to her side, eyes locking onto hers. A low, deliberate whine escaped him, almost insistent this time. He circled once, then twice, stopping near the corner of the living room where a faint draft of air stirred the curtains. Max pawed gently at the rug, his eyes never leaving Mia. Her heart skipped. "Max, what is it?" she whispered, voice trembling slightly. The softness in his demeanor clashed with the intensity in his gaze, and she felt the weight of his intuition pressing upon her. He nudged her hand toward her belly, pressing softly, then stepped back, tail sweeping the floor. Mia rested her palm over the gentle curve and felt it again, the subtle, unmistakable flutter. But this time, it felt stronger, more pronounced, as if the baby was responding to Max's presence as well. Tears welled in her eyes. You knew," she whispered, voice breaking with emotion. Max leaned into her, nudging again, a soft whine affirming what her heart was realizing. It wasn't coincidence. It was guidance. Love. Connection. The day unfolded slowly, yet every moment felt heightened with meaning. Max stayed near her constantly, circling gently, nudging her when she shifted, his eyes constantly watching, reading, understanding. Mia began to trust his instincts fully, letting him guide her awareness, letting herself lean on his presence without fear. By afternoon, sunlight poured through the windows in golden streams, catching the dust motes in lazy swirls. Max rested his head against her lap as she traced patterns on his fur, marveling at the depth of his intuition. "You've been helping me all this time, haven't you?" she whispered softly. He responded with a gentle nuzzle, eyes warm and patient. A sudden flutter in her belly made her gasp. Max nudged her hand immediately, tail thumping in quiet reassurance. Mia laughed softly, overwhelmed with gratitude and awe. "You're amazing, Max, really amazing," she murmured, leaning back against the couch. In the quiet, soft moments of the afternoon, she reflected on everything that had happened. Max had not just sensed her pregnancy, he had guided her gently, warned her in subtle ways, and reassured her with every action. The emotional turning point was clear: he was no ordinary dog. He was a companion, a guardian, an intuitive presence whose love transcended words. As evening approached, the light fading into soft lavender, Max curled up beside her. Mia rested her hand on his head, eyes meeting his thoughtful gaze. "I don't know how you do it, but I trust you," she whispered. He responded with a soft whine, tail brushing her leg, a small, perfect gesture of understanding. The emotional weight of the moment pressed gently on her chest. She realized that the fear she had once felt about the unknown had been replaced with trust, love, and wonder. Max had become more than a guide, he was a part of her life, her heart, her world. Later that night, as the house settled into stillness, Mia and Max lay quietly together. The moonlight spilled across the floor, casting silver streaks on the rug. Max rested his head on her lap, eyes watching, always vigilant. Mia felt a deep sense of peace. She had seen the power of intuition, the strength of trust, and the beauty of silent connection. She whispered softly, almost to herself, "We're ready, aren't we, Max?" Max lifted his nose briefly, nuzzled her hand, and settled again. It was a simple gesture, but it carried everything: understanding, reassurance, and a quiet promise that whatever came next, they would face it together. And in that gentle, golden night, Mia knew the emotional turning point had arrived. The subtle mystery, the intuitive guidance, the unspoken bond, they had all converged into this moment of quiet clarity. Max had led her to it, step by step, nudge by nudge, heart to heart. The subtle truth was now unmistakable, and Mia's heart was overflowing with gratitude and awe. The first light of morning spilled softly into the bedroom, warming the room in gentle shades of gold. Mia stretched slightly, resting her hands on her belly, and felt the faint, delicate flutter of movement inside. Max lay at her feet, head resting on the rug, ears alert to every small sound. The quiet intimacy of the morning felt sacred, like a promise waiting to unfold. Over the past days, Max's behavior had grown more intentional, more purposeful. The nudges, the soft growls, the circling, they were all part of a rhythm Mia had come to understand. And today, the truth of his actions became unmistakable. As she reached down to stroke his ears, Max lifted his head and nudged her hand toward her side. A stronger flutter responded to his touch, making her gasp softly. Her eyes widened as realization settled in. Max had been sensing the baby all along, not just sensing, but guiding, protecting, and communicating in ways she had only just begun to comprehend. Tears filled her eyes. You've been looking out for us this whole time," she whispered, voice trembling with quiet awe. Max leaned into her, tail sweeping the rug gently, his eyes full of calm intelligence and unwavering loyalty. The days that followed were filled with quiet moments of revelation. Each small action of Max's became a story she could read, a gentle nudge when the baby moved, a circling pause when she shifted, a soft whine when he sensed subtle changes. He had been revealing the truth all along, not with alarm, but with love. One afternoon, as sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, Mia watched Max move deliberately toward her side. He pawed lightly at her hand, nudged her gently, then rested his head against her belly. The baby responded with a flutter, and Mia's breath caught in her throat. Every movement, every gesture, every subtle cue now made perfect sense. "You've been guiding me, protecting us," she murmured, voice soft and awed. Max's eyes met hers, and in that gaze was an understanding so profound it nearly brought her to tears. He had not been growling out of fear or warning, he had been revealing the heart of their connection, step by step, moment by moment. Mia felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. She realized that the bond she shared with Max was not just companionship. It was partnership. It was communication that transcended words. It was love expressed in the quietest, most profound ways. As evening fell, casting soft pink and lavender tones across the room, Mia and Max settled into their usual rhythm. She sat on the couch, blanket wrapped around her, Max curled at her feet, occasionally nudging her hand with his nose. The house was quiet, filled only with the soft hum of life around them. She reached down to rest her hand over his head, eyes glistening. "I see you now, Max. I see everything you've done, everything you've been trying to tell me." He responded with a soft nuzzle, tail sweeping slowly, the simplest gesture carrying all the affirmation she needed. The truth was clear. Max had been revealing the hidden, delicate truths of life, subtle signs, movements, and moments that Mia alone could not perceive. And he had done it all with patience, gentleness, and unwavering love. Later that night, as the moonlight spilled through the window in silver streaks, Mia sat quietly on the rug, Max resting beside her. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the magnitude of the revelation settle in. Her chest was full of gratitude, her heart swelling with awe. "You've been our silent guide," she whispered softly, fingers brushing his fur. "And now I understand everything." Max shifted slightly, nudging her hand once more. The connection between them was palpable, a bond of love, trust, and understanding that words could never fully capture. Mia leaned back, watching the soft moonlight highlight the warm tones of Max's fur. The realization of his intuition, the truth of his actions, was heart-touching, profound, and beautiful. She knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The love, guidance, and trust they shared had grown into something extraordinary. As she rested her head against the couch, Max curled up beside her. She whispered one final time, her voice trembling with quiet joy, "Thank you, for everything, Max. For showing me, for showing us, love." In the stillness of that night, the bond between human and dog had fully revealed itself. Max had not just been a companion, he had been a silent, gentle guide, unveiling a truth so beautiful it left Mia in awe. Every gesture, every nudge, every intuitive move now made perfect sense. The heart of the story had been revealed, and the love between them was deeper than Mia could have ever imagined. The morning arrived soft and golden, sunlight spilling through the curtains in gentle, amber streaks. Mia sat in her favorite chair, wrapped in a warm blanket, her hands resting over her belly. Max lay at her feet, chest rising and falling in a calm rhythm, ears alert to every subtle sound. The quiet intimacy of the room felt sacred, like a promise waiting to be fulfilled. Today was different. Today, the journey they had shared, the quiet nudges, the gentle guidance, the unspoken bond, was about to culminate in a moment of joy, clarity, and emotional closure. Mia looked down at Max, her eyes full of gratitude. "You've been amazing, Max," she whispered. "Every single day, you've been with us." Max lifted his head briefly, eyes meeting hers with an understanding that needed no words. Then he rested again, tail sweeping slowly, body calm and patient, a grounding presence in the soft morning light. The hours passed gently, filled with quiet anticipation. Max never left her side. Every flutter, every subtle shift of weight, every tiny sign from within her belly drew his attention. He nudged, circled, and pawed with care, always focused, always deliberate. Mia followed his cues, trusting him completely, marveling at the depth of his intuition. As afternoon approached, the first soft contractions began. Mia felt the flutter turn into a gentle rhythm, and Max's behavior shifted subtly. He became more watchful, positioning himself near her side, nudging her hand when she adjusted, offering warmth and presence. There was no panic, no fear, only calm reassurance, a steady heartbeat of trust and connection. "You're incredible, Max," she murmured, gripping his fur gently. He leaned into her touch, tail sweeping slowly, as if to say, "We've got this. I'm here." The quiet bond between them filled the room, stronger and more profound than ever before. By early evening, Mia's contractions intensified slightly, but Max remained steady, calm, and focused. Every nudge, every whine, every gentle paw was a thread of guidance, a reminder that they were together, that nothing could overwhelm them. She leaned back, eyes glistening with emotion. "You've been with me every step, haven't you?" Max responded with a soft nuzzle, eyes full of quiet affirmation. When the moment finally arrived, it was tender, intimate, and beautiful. Mia held her breath, feeling the culmination of weeks of intuition, love, and guidance. And through it all, Max remained steadfast at her side, watching, sensing, connecting in ways words could never capture. The cries of new life filled the room, delicate and pure. Mia's tears flowed freely as she held her baby for the first time, heart overflowing with joy and gratitude. Max sniffed gently at the tiny, perfect bundle, tail thumping softly, eyes wide with wonder and quiet pride. "You helped us get here, Max," Mia whispered, voice trembling. "You knew, and you guided us all along." Max leaned against her, resting his head lightly on her shoulder, a silent acknowledgement of the journey they had shared. The evening settled into a calm, golden glow. The house was filled with quiet warmth, love, and the new rhythm of life. Mia cradled her baby, Max lying peacefully beside her, a sentinel of trust, love, and gentle intuition. The bond between human and dog had reached its fullest expression, a shared journey of guidance, love, and profound understanding. As night fell, the room was softly illuminated by the moonlight streaming through the windows. Mia rested, Max curled at her side, the baby sleeping quietly in her arms. Every small nudge, every soft whine, every watchful gaze from Max had led them to this moment of healing and emotional closure. She whispered softly, tears glistening, "Thank you, Max, for everything. For the guidance, the love, and the quiet wisdom. You're more than a dog. You're family, and a guardian of the heart." Max responded with a gentle nuzzle, tail brushing against her hand, a perfect, quiet affirmation. In that moment, Mia realized that the journey had not been just about birth or intuition, it had been about connection, trust, and the beauty of shared hearts. Max had been with her in every flutter, every gentle shift, every quiet moment of anticipation. And now, the family was whole. The soft hum of life, the warmth of love, the quiet presence of a loyal companion, they filled the room with a sense of peace and wonder. Max rested, eyes half closed but attentive, knowing that his role had been fulfilled with love and devotion. Mia smiled down at her baby and then at Max, heart full. "We made it, together," she whispered. Max nudged her hand one last time, a gentle reminder that love, intuition, and trust had guided them every step of the way. And in the quiet of that golden night, surrounded by new life and steadfast companionship, the emotional closure was complete. The journey of gentle mystery, intuition, and unwavering love had reached its beautiful, heart-touching conclusion. The family was complete, hearts intertwined, and the bond between human and dog had never been stronger, a love that would last a lifetime.